Okay, real talk. Some things that were completely normal throughout most of human history would land you in serious trouble today. And we're not talking about ancient Rome or medieval times. We're talking about things that were legal, accepted, and sometimes even encouraged just 50, 60, or 100 years ago. Some of them are so bizarre that when you hear about them, your brain might short-circuit for a second. Don't say I didn't warn you. Hi, I'm your guide through history's weirdest corners. Every week we dig up the stories that got left out of your textbooks. Today's topic, things that were completely normal in the past, that would horrify us today. Let's go. Story number 1. Radium. In the 1920s, radium was basically the wellness trend of the century. This glowing, mysterious element had just been discovered by Marie Curie, and the world was obsessed with it. There was radium toothpaste, radium face cream, radium chocolate, radium-infused drinking water that rich people would sip every morning. There was even a product called Radithor. It was literally a bottle of water with dissolved radium in it. Marketed as a health tonic, people drank it daily. One famous socialite drank so many bottles that by the time he died, his bones were literally disintegrating from the inside. The doctors who examined him said his jaw had to be held together just for the funeral. He didn't know. Nobody told him, because for years, the official position was that radium was good for you. This wasn't fringe science. This was mainstream medicine. Every era has its radium. Something people swear is healthy, that future generations will look back on and gasp. I'm not saying what. Story 2. And this one comes straight from the pharmacy shelf. In 1898, Bayer, yes, that Bayer, the company that makes aspirin, launched a new product. It was marketed as a safe, non-addictive alternative to morphine. They called it heroin, not a street name, that was the brand name, registered trademark. It was prescribed to children for coughs, babies with fussiness. It was even marketed to help people quit morphine addiction. The name heroin came from the German word heroisch, meaning heroic, because test subjects said it made them feel heroic. For years, it was in the same category as aspirin, over the counter, at the general store. Eventually, the catastrophic addiction rates became impossible to ignore. But for a solid decade, totally normal. Doctor recommended. Parent approved. This is why we have drug testing now. History paid for that lesson in a really brutal way. Story 3 takes us into the world of medicine again. And honestly, this one is the hardest one to sit with. For about 3 decades, from the 1930s to the 1960s, lobotomies were considered a genuine, respectable treatment for mental illness. This wasn't backroom stuff. One American doctor, Walter Freeman, performed over 3,000 of them. He called it the ice pick method. He'd travel from hospital to hospital in a van he called the lobotomobile. He performed them in doctors' offices in front of medical students. He was celebrated. In 1949, Antonio Egas Moniz, who developed the original procedure, won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. Patients who were anxious, depressed, or even just difficult to manage were sometimes sent in by their families. Many came out permanently changed, passive, quieter, which was mistaken for cured. But here's the thing. These weren't monsters. They were doctors who genuinely believed they were helping. And that might be the scariest part. Good intentions don't guarantee good outcomes. The history of medicine is partly a history of people being terrifyingly wrong, while being completely convinced they were right. Story 4 is a little lighter comparatively. Smoking on airplanes. Not just allowed standard. Every seat had an ashtray built into the armrest. Flight attendants would push around the snack cart in one hand and cigarettes in the other. But it wasn't just planes. Doctors smoked in patient rooms. Professors smoked mid-lecture. You could light up in movie theaters, department stores, elevators. In the 1950s, cigarette ads literally used doctors as spokespeople. More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. The tobacco industry knew. Internal documents later proved they'd been sitting on cancer research since the 1950s. They buried it, funded counter, research, and kept advertising. U.S. airlines didn't ban smoking until 1990. International flights held out even longer. There are people alive today who flew as kids and remember the smoke-filled cabin like it was nothing unusual. Because it wasn't. And now for the one that always makes people do a double take. In the early 1900s, shortly after the U.S. Postal Service introduced parcel post, meaning you could now mail packages, some parents mailed their children. Not metaphorically, actually mailed them. There are records of at least a dozen cases between 1913 and 1915. Parents would stamp the postage on their kid's coat, walk them to the post office, and hand them over to the mail carrier. The most famous case. A little girl named Charlotte May Piersdorf was mailed from Grangeville, Idaho to her grandparents' house, 73 miles away, cost 53 cents. She was delivered safely. The Postal Service eventually made a rule. No mailing humans. This had to be specifically stated. History is genuinely undefeated. So, here's what I keep coming back to whenever I dig into stuff like this. Every single generation thinks they've figured it out. The radium people thought they were ahead of the science. The lobotomy doctors thought they were pioneers. The cigarette companies literally had doctors on their side. And every generation has some blind spot, that future people will look back at and go, wait, they really did that. We're no exception. Which is why history isn't just about the past, it's a mirror. If you want more mirrors, subscribe. New weird history every week. And drop a comment. What do you think our generation's radium is?